Hey guys, what's growing? It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Today we're out at the farm and I'm going to be doing tons of transplanting, but first I need to try to fix this irrigation issue, and I think that it's just a break in the tubing that's causing the drop in pressure. So I need to cap one anyway, and that might fix the whole problem, which would be great because I'm going to put a whole bunch of stuff in the ground today, and some of it is going in these perennial beds that are on the drip tubing that actually has the pressure issue right now. So the drip tape, as far as I know, on these back beds is working, and so we'll just continue to use them like that. Well, as usual, change of plans. I do not have a piece to cap off what I need to cap off of the main line tubing so that I can keep the water from going up where there is a cut. So I just need to get that piece today. I'll bring it back out here tomorrow because I've got a harvest out here tomorrow. So for today, what I transplant, I will, first of all, I've saturated everything, all the soil blocks I'm going to transplant. They're all super, super wet. They'll go in the ground, and then I will probably follow up with a watering can in those areas, and then tomorrow I'll just fix the irrigation and we'll be good to go. All right, let's get transplanting. Okay, so I got a bunch of transplanting done, only filmed a little bit of it, but I'm going to give you an April farm tour. Not a whole lot to see right now, but that will change. So let's start in the upper field. Okay, so this is the upper field. You've already seen that I have the sweet peas along this fence line. They're really hard to see. And they're looking really washed out. They're sunburned, even though they got a lot of sun exposure before I put them in. So they'll be all right though, they'll bounce back. This bed is empty currently, except for weeds. So before I transplant, I'll have to come through here and pull up all these weeds. But this bed is going to be mostly ornamental grasses and mahogany splendor hibiscus. And those are all seeds that I started yesterday or 2 days ago. This bed is all going to be sunflowers. That's a first, second, and third succession down there, and I've got more going at home. This bed, which I just noticed has a leak. This is all zinnias. I just planted this today. The top of the bed is actually ageratum, but see, here's a leak. All right, so I need to fix this right now. Sorry, I couldn't do that on camera because I needed both of my hands. All that happened was this tubing came undone from this, so I just reattached it. So these are all zinnias. This is a first and second succession. The first succession are the bigger ones down there. They're multicolors, but I've labeled them all. And then down here at the very end are ageratum. These take a very long time. They won't be ready really probably until end of July. This bed still, I can see more weeds popping up that I need to come in with the hoe. This is the like perennial pollinator bed. So it's got lavender, and that's, I think it's called Breath of Heaven. It's got some, those are crocosmia starting to come up right here. It's got, this was the Three Sisters garden last year, and it's going to do it again this year. Some of this is just bachelor buttons and some is weeds. I'll get all that cleaned out when I get ready to plant. That is a Russian sage, which will come back, I hope. I haven't gotten up close to it to see if it's got new buds on it. Let's go check that, because at this point it should. I don't know, guys. It feels like it's still alive. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so all that needs to happen here is I just need to come in like I usually do and take everything down almost to the ground, and it'll be fine. These are old stems from this euphorbia, and it's got new babies coming up at the bottom here, so that's good. Nothing in the middle here. These are where I had some giant Gaillardia were in there, these big empty spots. I've put Coreopsis, Rudbeckia, hyssop in here, so that will start filling in. And like I said, this will become the Three Sisters garden this year. This is just pathway and not being used right now. This is a salvia. We've got some, well, there's a ton of nasturtium seeds in here. They should start germinating pretty soon. These are just left over from when they dropped last year. This is sweet alyssum, and looking awful, but it'll actually come back and be just fine. But this is the bed that I need to, this and the bed that wraps around the greenhouse, I need to address the irrigation problem with, so I just need to get that part. Over here, we have obviously daffodils. They're finishing their show. And the rest of what you see in here is actually all California native wildflowers. And they're all starting to come up. This little flower is so pretty. This little cutie is Nemophilia maculata. It's also called five spot. We also have tidy tips. I think these are so adorable. You can see these even on the coast, like right above the ocean on the high cliffs. There's just a whole bunch. This is a mix, a California wildflower mix, and so I'm thrilled to see it. There's going to be California poppies because I can see this is the foliage here, but they just haven't started blooming yet, but they will. So this bed full of that. In the middle, we have well, we've got sweet peas, like I said, on the back along the fence line. In the middle, we have goldenrod and Rudbeckia and marigolds and all kinds of stuff. So this will also start filling in. And over here in the seating area, we have farm trash. Yeah, I just haven't had a chance to put all that stuff away yet. But like I said, all the daffodils kind of finishing up their show, but they really did look lovely. So I was happy with this. These, the bulbs will stay in these containers, and you can see how low the soil is, which is by design, because I will, once all these bulbs are done, I will cut off the spent flowers and stuff, and then let the greens die back, and then I will top up all of these beds almost to the very tippy top and plant herbs, lots and lots of herbs, and probably some flowers too. And then, so all the daffodil bulbs will be buried deep, and they'll stay under there, and then they'll come back in the spring next year. Okay, and into the high tunnel. Literally the only thing that I have direct sown that came up was this, was just Sweet Annie. So that's a bummer. None of this came up, but that's okay. It's just open bed, and I've got a plan for it. I can't remember what it is. I have it all written down. But the tulips, I think I've said this before, I will never grow tulips in a high tunnel again. They're just too short, and because I think it was too warm for them in here, even though these are pre-cooled bulbs. Some of these are great. This is Black Parrot. Some of those stem lengths are fine, but I mean, look at the rest of these. They're not good for anything. You can't even really put those in a vase. They're too short. So that was a painful lesson. I mean, I've still gotten a lot of harvest, but not as much as I had wanted. These guys down here, Dordogne, they're doing great. Nice tall stems. This is probably going to be my last harvest week on Monday of these guys. The ranunculus, still going strong. Some of these are kind of done. These were the iceberg variety, and they came up earlier, so it's fine, because the other thing is I have to wait. If I want to save these corms, I have to wait for the greenery to die back before I can pull them up and plant in here. This is going to be second succession of some summer stuff. Boy, try saying that 3 times fast. Okay, so all of the lovely colors of the ranunculus now. Lots and lots of stems out of individual plants. And I've already been harvesting on these for a couple weeks. So it's been really enjoyable. Ranunculus clearly love high tunnels. Okay, so over here we have some status. And the only, like status, I know what it looks like, but it also looks very similar to some of these weeds. So I know that it's status because it is planted in a grid pattern, and also because I put it there and it's labeled. But these guys, these are asters, totally not looking good. I think I might sacrifice them when it's time to plant. If they haven't done much more, I'll just pull them up and put something else in here. I have too little space to waste on things that aren't going to perform. Again, still with the ranunculus. I mean, that's just so pretty. Ideally, you don't want to harvest them when they're already blooming like this, but it happens so fast. So like this is the perfect, actually that might be a little even too far gone. This is more soft like a marshmallow because they open so fast. You can still use them like this, but if you're delivering to customers and they're already open and they've been open for a couple days, they're going to have a much shorter period of time that they'll have in the vase. Okay, then back here, nothing in this part of the bed, so it is just awaiting planting. We do have some Sweet Annie here, and I think these are, I didn't label these, feverfew. These are Starflower and Scabiosa. This is Magus. See how much, actually this is Daucus. See how much it looks like, it's a member of the carrot family, and you can see how much it looks like poison hemlock. So it's really important, like I know these are Daucus because I planted them here, and they don't have the speckles on the stems, but it's important to know that. And then we have some Strawflower here as well. I don't know how long I'm going to keep these guys in. It just depends on how much of this bed I'm going to need. All of these, I think what they all need is fertilization. I think that's the problem. I'm going to do that before I leave here today. These are all not chrysanthemums, dianthus, of different colors of dianthus, and these actually were labeled. And then up here, and these are looking okay, are more asters. So project weeding, all of this, not because I'm going to use that space for anything, but I just don't want them to set seed and keep spreading their weeds everywhere. This hillside here, not being used, I have another big tarp. I'm going to tarp the whole thing, let it all break down over the course of the summer, and maybe if it's ready in the fall, I can add compost and do planting, low planting down here of something. We'll see. But mostly I want to just control all the grasses and weeds. And this bed, already getting full of weeds again. Need to come in with a hoe before I transplant anything. I haven't really made a decision exactly what I'm going to put in here yet, but I have plenty of things that I can pop in. Probably more Rudbeckia, stuff like that. Things that I can cut on, and we'll just see how it goes. Need to come back here with the string trimmer because you can see all this stuff has grown up so high. That's pathway that I need to clear. These Calendula are looking very lovely. I need to deadhead, but other than that, I mean, Calendula are great. They'll bloom all through the winter. They just are really hardy. And then this bed, full of daffodils still. There's, this is chamomile down here. And these are craspedia. And I've planted like hyssop and things here and there. This again, this bed needs to have, I have to fix the irrigation system so that everybody gets water. I used a hose today. Nepeta, looking beautiful. Then this really pretty geranium. I don't know what that is. I did not plant that, I don't think. The borage looking lovely. It's a nice little centerpiece in the middle of this bed. And all of this, I think this is more Nepeta. Let's see. Yes, it's a mint because it's got a square stem. So it's probably Nepeta because I wouldn't have put actual mint in here. Otherwise, unless I wanted an entire bed of mint, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but would take over everything else. And then we have a bunch of penstemons in here. And some Artemisia silver mound right here, so pretty. And finally in the greenhouse, actually making progress. So all the stuff that you see in here are seedlings for sale. So I don't need to transplant any of these. These are peppers and tomatoes. These are all herbs. They're gonna get potted up into these containers as well for seedling sale. These guys are zinnias. I ran out of space in the upper bed, so they are gonna have to go into the high tunnel, or I might put them in the ornamental grasses bed because I don't need that entire bed for grasses, but so this is all cosmos that's going to a client, not all of it, but some of it. But some of those I probably will just go on and plant in the landscape as well. And then the rest of these are seedlings. So not a whole lot to have to transplant right now here. At home, it's a different story. Speaking of home, let's head back there. It's way past lunch, get something to eat, and then I have transplanting to do there. Before we go, I want to show you my my map of this area and what I plan for the summer. Okay, I don't know how visible this is going to be. Here we go. All right, so you can see I have ageratum here that I planted today, zinnia 1 and 2 that I planted today. Sunflowers are just gonna take their time over the season filling in. This is the grasses bed. I'll put probably the other zinnias up here. This is the cutting bed, and it's pretty much planted out. Then the pollinator bed, which I still have to, I'm gonna do the Three Sisters thing over here. In the high tunnel, things have changed a bit since I did this map. When the second row of ranunculus come out, dahlias are going in. Then we'll have 2 more successions of zinnias and marigolds at the end. The straw flower looks like I'm going to keep in because it takes a long time for that stuff to come up. Then I'm putting in gomphrena if I can get them to germinate and do well. They're just not cooperating. And I have celosia here, but I gotta tell you, I haven't had any luck getting it to grow beyond like the cotyledon leaves this year so far. I'm gonna try one more time, maybe in the warmer weather it'll help. And if not, I'm just not growing celosia this year. I have plenty of other things. So yeah, this will change a little bit. And then at home, I've got a plan as well, which always gets a little, you know, I always make a plan and then in reality I alter it somewhat. It doesn't really matter. It does help to make a plan so that you have an idea of how much to start. You can always make changes, but it's good to have kind of a baseline. So that's why I make this plan every year. Plus it's fun. All right, I'm gonna go home and have some lunch and then get back to work in the home garden. So back in the home garden, this is the potato bed where we planted potatoes a couple days ago. And you know, it's going to be a while before the greens of these potatoes come up, and even longer before they're thick and lush through here. So a great way to make use of this space, because it's actually open space right now, is to interplant. And there's lots of things you can interplant potatoes with. You could do onions or radishes, which are great because it's a very fast crop. You could do horseradish. You could, some people do corn, but I find that disturbs the roots too much, the corn roots too much when you take up the potatoes. I'm going to do lettuce. That is another very quick crop. It is not deep rooted. and it will actually provide some shade for the emerging potato leaves and help them from prevent them from getting sunburn. So I have a bunch of varieties here that I started from seed, and they've been sitting in the greenhouse. They are looking kind of not green enough. They need to be fertilized. So I'm going to start by, and the other great thing about this is I don't have to dig into the soil. I can just poke my finger in to put these little tiny seedlings in. So I'm going to start by adding some fertilizer, and that'll get distributed as I start putting these guys in. And I'm just going to put them in rows. It doesn't have to be anything perfect. The potato leaves will come up where they're going to need to, and everybody will kind of work around each other. But this is a really great way to use the space and get another crop out of this, because it's going to be a while before we harvest these potatoes. The next project is going to be to plant this bed up. I took out the carrots. They weren't doing anything. The weather's been so weird. It's just time to start fresh. So I am going to put my zucchini and my cucumbers in here. And I did this last year. I have a cucumber trellis that I will go ahead and install. The zucchini go in the middle, down the middle, because they get shaded by the trellis, and they actually really like that. So I'm going to put some starter fertilizer down. I'm going to add a little bit more compost, and then I'm going to plant up some of the zucchini. More of it's going out into the row crop area. And then I'm not sure I'm going to plant the cucumbers yet. I'm going to have to look at the weather forecast first, but within the next couple days I will be putting them in. Okay, the varieties that I've chosen to go in here are the escalator zucchini, because they actually will take advantage of the trellis on the inside, and the early straight neck prolific squash. So I've got a lot of these. I'm only going to put 2 in here and 2 of the escalator zucchini over there, because they get big, and these guys can spill over the side and enjoy their growing outward as well. So these are in root trainers, and they've got some nice roots going on in there, but they're definitely fine for putting in the ground. And then these are the escalator zucchini, and you can see the roots coming out the bottom. They can start by grabbing onto these strings at the bottom, and then they can continue to grow up this trellis. This trellis is from Gardener's Supply. And then probably tomorrow or the next day, depending on what the lows are at night, I'll get the cucumbers out here. But these squash had just grown really big in their root trainers. The cucumbers are still quite small, and I've found that if I plant them when they're too small, they get eaten by other things because they're just not big enough to withstand the attack, and then I don't have a cucumber harvest. So I'm gonna give them a little bit more time. Okay, got most of my transplanting done. I'm gonna give you a quick tour, April garden tour of the front veg garden. We'll do the rest of the property later this week. So as you can see, the daffodils are mostly done. They'll stay green for a while, and then after they turn brown, then I'll remove the leaves, and this will be an empty patch. And I will do, again, I'll put down more wildflower seeds. Some of the wildflowers did take, but I'll have to put more down, and they will stay up during the year. Our These pots that we put up, they're looking good. I have to keep watering them because I don't have them on irrigation yet. This fence line is going to be for Baptisia. I have the starts all ready to go in the ground, but right now it has thorned wild blackberry, which I'm going to pull out, and lots of mint, which I'm actually going to keep in. I love mint. I don't care if it spreads in this bed. I harvest it all year for teas and stuff. So garlic bed, looking really good. All 4 varieties are up. It'll probably be late May, early June when we get scapes, and I can't wait. Blueberry bushes, the little ones, I don't expect much of this year because they are brand new, but look at this one. Covered in blooms, which are all gonna be berries. And this is not the only blueberry bush. So here's the lettuces we just planted. I put some cloches on them to try to keep the birds away from some of them at least. Although this time of the season, they tend to not bother anything. It's really over the winter that they decimate things. This pomegranate coming along, it's leaving out. I hope we get fruit from it this year. This will be its 3rd year. We'll see. Back here, we have a grape. This is a red seedless grape, and it is just starting to get buds on it. It's going to take some time. Here's one of our blackberries, looking good, putting on fresh new growth. These are all new growth tips here. And then the asparagus bed actually is sending up some asparagus shoots. So I won't be harvesting these this year. I'm just giving it the year to get itself established. Another blackberry, putting on lots of new growth. Oh, so soft. And then here's another blueberry loaded with flowers. And then this bed is still onions, and I'm gonna leave it that way. I want them to bulb up. I wanna really see if that will work. Gonna remove these cloches and put the rest of this lettuce in this row here. And then there's the zucchini and cucumber bed. Like I said, I'll plant those cucumbers when in a couple days when they get bigger. This bed is peonies. I put a trio of Rudbeckia triloba back here. They'll get morning sun and hopefully they'll fill in this corner. They will naturalize and get bigger and bigger. But our peonies are all coming up, which is fantastic. So as the daffodils fade, the peonies will get bigger and bigger. And I don't know if there's going to be enough stems to harvest on these this year, and that's okay. Most of the time you don't expect to harvest the first year of a peony, but I'm just glad that they are coming up. Pollinator garden, starting to put on some growth. I mean, look at this rose bush. Look how dense it got now that I did that really hard prune. It looks amazing. So this is really what I want to see, is a lot of green growth, and that will give me more flowers because there's more stems going in the right directions. All right, so planted some marigold and rudbeckias in here and some other stuff. They'll be coming up as time goes on. The buddleia, oh no, this is a salvia. This is starting to put on some new growth. And here's the buddleia. That was just sticks a couple weeks ago, so it is definitely coming back. I do want to keep an eye on this though. I'm not sure what's going on with those leaves. Maybe that's just a new unfurling, but that seems potentially a disease issue. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. They do need to be fertilized. Fruit trees. This is the 4-in-1 plum. It's definitely growing, putting on green growth. I don't know if there'll be any fruit on this year because I did a very hard prune. This pear just starting to break bud. These apples though are definitely starting to break their buds. That one that we just looked at, this one is a little bit further behind, and this one too. But these are fruiting spurs, so I really hope that we get some fruit this year. So more peonies. And you'll notice they have afternoon shade, and that's really important because the peonies, they like cold more than they like heat. So I don't want them baking in afternoon sun. So they're shaded by this hedge, which is really nice. This is also a peony bed all the way down, and they're coming up too. Again, daffodils interspersed, and so those daffodils will be there every year and won't have to replant them. This bed right now is lettuces and a little bit of chard that's kind of struggling. And then here's our snapdragons. I don't see any flower buds yet, but we are getting taller stems, which is important. So yeah, hopefully in the next couple weeks. And then down here we have some status, scattering. This is just what survived the bird attack. And then leftover ranunculus from last year. Those just were volunteers. They were still in the ground. I guess I didn't find them when I pulled everything else up to save it over winter. But that's proof that I can overwinter ranunculus corms no problem. So I might start doing that, finding places where I can just overwinter a whole stand of ranunculus, and then I won't have as much to plant. Starflower, feverfew, which is just the greenery. This is even before the the flowers. It's just so pretty, so lush. And these are the sweet potatoes that we planted yesterday. They're still looking rough, but they're definitely hydrated. I mean, they're not, it's going to take them a couple of days, but this is not dry soil. That's also not dry right below the surface there. And some of them, like this guy, trying to start to stand up. This over here is a peony from last year, and you can tell it's a lot bigger than the other ones. Already the ants are on some of the flower buds. The ants love the sugary sap that the flowers produce. All right, goji berry, a grape I still haven't planted. These are some more fruit trees, this whole line of fruit trees, and then this guy right here is a jujube. Then we've got, flowers. This is Phacelia, which is going to have a beautiful blue flower on it. I've interplanted this straw flower with Phacelia, starting to come up. Hopefully we'll get blooms from that soon. Then we have all of this Amimagus and Daucus. It's so pretty. And we have Orlea. Love this Orlea. It's real close. So in the next week or so, we're going to be able to start harvesting. And this year I have very long stems, which is exciting. Here's some more Daucus. And then here is where I planted all of this is where the stock was that just didn't do well. This is where I put all the rest of the zucchinis. So they are spaced on a diagonal grid pattern, and I'm going to turn on the drip system here to water them in shortly. Still lots of radishes I've been harvesting, and peas, which are starting to grow. Hopefully they're going to start climbing the trellis and we can actually get some peas. Usually by now I'm starting to harvest peas. It's just everything is so late this year. 2 elderberries right here. We've got a thornless blackberry, another thornless blackberry. This is a sunglow nectarine. Got another thornless blackberry over here, another sunglow nectarine. This one is a Santa Rosa plum. And then these are scabiosa. And these are agrostema. Jeez. Well, it was a good, productive day. I got a lot done. I feel a bit of relief, a bit of weight off my shoulder. There's still so much to do, but that's okay. Tomorrow is harvest day, and tomorrow I will be getting, trying to fix the irrigation at the farm, and I actually found a couple problems up front too in the front garden that I need to address as well. So yeah, so I'll be working on that, as well as still more transplanting. And at the farm, fertilizing with worm compost tea. So I've just started a batch. I got worm castings, and I'll show you what I did. So this is my worm compost tea setup. That's nothing special. It's a gallon jar of rainwater. So there's no bacteria. I mean, there's no nothing in there that's going to kill the bacteria, because this is all about good bacteria. So you don't want to use tap water or treated water, because the chlorine or chloramine in there will kill the the bacteria that you're trying to support here to spread on your plants. So I have this is just a little cheesecloth that I filled with worm castings. I put a rubber band around it. I put it in the water, squeezed it a bunch of times to make sure that it started filtering out and got really wet. And then this is just like a $5 fish bubbler that's plugged in, and it will run all night and bubble and bubble. That aeration is really important. I am going to go inside and grab the molasses. I usually like to feed about a teaspoon to this mixture because the molasses is a sugar that feeds the bacteria so they can multiply while it is brewing. This is cold water. It doesn't have to be hot. And then tomorrow I will dump this gallon into my backpack sprayer, and the rest will be water, and I will spray that on all the plants at the farm. And doesn't seem like much. It's very mild, but it works wonders. Basically, you're giving good bacteria, good microbiology to your plants in the soil, and that's more beneficial than any fertilizer can be. All right, so that's going to be it for me today. I'm exhausted. It's been a good day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.